Hello YouTubers, what we're going to do today is we are going to play with Siser's newly released heat transfer vinyl is what they're calling it. And so it's an inkjet printable material, so you can print in full color and put it on any fabric type that you want to. So these are a couple of my examples. This is cotton, this is 100% polyester, and then this is canvas material. It's a print and cut material. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up a print and cut with this, and we'll print it, cut it, and then press it. And then at the end, I will show you how this compares to other inkjet printable materials that I've used, along with sublimation and direct to film. I'll have examples of all of them, wash, dry, all of that kind of stuff. So let me go show you what you need. All right, so you're gonna need your direct to film or DTF material. And then I'm gonna go with a sticky mat. These are the knockoff mats. This was a strong grip mat at one point in its life. It is not anymore, but it is still fairly sticky to help hold this in place, which is what you're gonna want as we're reading registration marks. So material mat, and then Siser recommends a masking material. And if you're gonna do a design that has a lot of holes in it, I would highly recommend this because it's kind of hard to pick every piece up and then just put it down on your shirt or whatever. So masking material, if you're gonna do a holy design, I've just been doing, these are just one piece designs, so I just pick them up and put them down on my material. And then obviously whatever material you're going to be using, we're just gonna use some more scrap fabric from around my craft space. And then I have a Canon Pixma printer. Any inkjet printer will work. From my research, they say laser printers are hit and miss at the moment. So sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. They're not entirely sure. I think they're still working on it. So this is an inkjet specific material. You're also going to need either a heat press or an iron. We're going to be using my heat press. It's going to be 310 for 15 seconds. I got this material from Sparkleberry. She is local to me, so that's how I got it so quickly. I know Expressions Vinyl and Heat Press Nation both have the material already there and in stock and are shipping it. It is expensive. I did want to touch on that real quick. I would imagine giving time that the price point will come down, but they're about $2.50 if you buy a single sheet, or I think it was $20 for 10. So they are expensive, so do keep that in mind for your project. One other thing, currently at the moment, they're only available in 8.5 by 11-inch sheets of paper. So that's another thing to keep in mind. We're going to print and cut, which is going to make our size even smaller. So if you need it for a specific project, keep that in mind that you're either going to have to piece things together or be limited by size. So we are in Silhouette Studio and we are going to set up our print and cut design. So this is a standard 12 by 12 mat, and what we're going to do is we're going to come over to media size and go to letter, which is 8.5 by 11, which is how big our piece of vinyl is. And we're gonna go over here to our registration marks and turn them on. And then I like to come back on and then show cut border. That is the red outline. Everything has to be inside that or else it will not cut. And then these are just our little PNG files. These are my designs. And I've just brought them into the software, and we're just gonna kind of squish these guys around to get them to fit. In the newer versions of Silhouette Studio, it will auto trace the PNG files for you. So these are PNG picture files, so they will auto trace them. Auto trace is really great because it'll put in my cut lines automatically. It's like anything that's auto. It is occasionally a little buggy. So when you do bring in something, you want to make sure it has a clean edge on it. If it has like a fuzzy edge or like an airbrush looking edge, the software gets a little confused and doesn't really know what to do with it. So the other thing it does is it brings them in huge when it auto traces. So keep that in mind, but it's a very, very cool feature. It keeps you from tracing. And so, but that's what it's doing, and that's why the design is huge. The other thing it does when it auto traces is, you can't really see it on this one, but on here, it puts a black line around the design when it brings them in. I've been playing with this, so that's why it didn't for this guy. But on a default, when you bring them in, it puts in a black line around them. That way you know they've been traced, which is kind of nice. You can go over here to the little gear and import and see it says PNG auto trace. You can turn it on or off. Sometimes you want to turn it off when you're trying to get like a faded edge, because the software software doesn't handle it very well. So, but this is where you would file and import and bring in your designs, however many you want to, or however big you want to. But you have to stay inside your red box here. If I go to file and print, there's one other thing I want to show you real quick. See, I have a black outline around that music. It is not going to print. The reason it is not going to print is because if I click it, see, my print is set at 000. That's why you can see it, but it won't print. If I say pop it up to 3, it will print. Now, this is a good trick you can use, and I did it here. If you're gonna put this on a black piece of fabric, you can fatten up this little edge so that if print and cut is off and you end up with like a little white sliver, it'll hide it because you got a black outline, versus having that white little sliver on the black piece of fabric and it being just an eyesore. This will help kind of hide it. So now when we do file and print, it'll have a black outline around it. So we're gonna leave that. Everything looks good, and we're gonna hit print. We're going to print to my Canon Pixma printer. It is no longer in production, but any inkjet printer is supposed to work. I would spring for, if you have a nicer inkjet, I would spring for that one versus, you know, this $50 printer. So we're gonna print on that one. All right, so this is my one big gripe with this right now. This is the front and that's the back. I wish they watermarked this. Now how you can tell is the front is white and the back is off-white. But I mean, it is subtle to say the least. This is whiter and this is darker. But I really wish that they had watermarked this because it's really difficult to tell. So I'm going to put this face up in my printer. So definitely double check. And I would also double check that your design prints like you want it to on regular pieces of paper before you use this, considering how expensive they are. Also, I like to feed these in one at a time. I feel like they get off if they're stuck in there with a bunch of paper. So I like to feed them in one at a time. All right, so there we are, all printed. And we're going to line it up in this top corner over here. And then I like to use a brayer. I don't think it's 100% necessary. I just feel like you want it to cut correctly. So you need it to be adhered correctly, no bubbles or anything like that. So brayer or press really well. So now we're going to go back over and we're going to get the machine to cut it out. All right, so we're back in our software now. So we're going to go over to send. And then I have just the outside cut for all of this. So what we're going to do is heat transfer smooth is what was recommended. I just have the auto blade in there and it's detected. Now, from the first time I cut this, I'm going to increase the force to 6. The 4 cut pretty well, but it was more like a perforated instead of a clean cut. So we're going to do a force of 6 and a speed of 8 seems to be fine. Now, if you're doing something really intricate like a snowflake, I would highly recommend bumping your speed down. But none of this is too crazy. We're going to hit the send button. It's going to ask me if I want it to be mirrored. Say no. And we're going to hope it works for the best. Alright, so we are cut. So let's flip it off our mat. Now what I like to do is peel the white off and leave it on my transfer. Understand that once you peel some of that transfer off, it's not going back on. I can push and it's not going back on. So that's why I'm going to peel away this white. I'm going to see if the increased force helped this time around. It did not. So This is what it did the last time too, and that's why I increased the force. It's cut, but it's more like a perforation cut. So just be really careful when you peel it. Now I don't know how old my blade is, so maybe that's the problem, but so it'll peel, just be a little careful. So we're over at my heat press. It's set at 310. So, and this is just a scrap of, this is 100% cotton knit fabric. It's just a scrap of fabric, but basically it would be a t-shirt material. So it says to pre-press for a couple seconds and get your stuff off flat. Now, and then I'm just going to peel it off my backing. Put it down on my design. Now I want to show you something that is the coolest thing ever. It flattens by itself. So I've done another one of these printable material and literally it curled and it looked like it was wrangling. It felt like you were wrangling a monster to get it to lay flat. So there it is, all laying flat. And so we're going to put on, this is a standard Teflon sheet. You just want to make sure you don't pick up any edges. Things still flat. We're going to press for 15 seconds now. And then it's probably going to have stuck to my Teflon. There we go. This is pretty dang cool, I'll totally admit. So we're going to do one more. Okay, so that's what you have to be careful of. When I put my sheet on, it curled up by itself. If I had just pressed it, all of this would have gone underneath it. So this is the thing, you have to be careful if you don't use your masking. If you use the masking, that wouldn't have happened. But we like to live dangerously and it happens. So press it, make sure everything's still where it's supposed to be. So there is our design, and you can feel it. It's not like Sublimation where there's no feel of it, but it's not any worse than like HTV would be. It is stretchy to some degree. This, since it's a big design, is not as stretchy as like if you had individual like a print font. That would be better stretchy than a solid design like this. There is some give in it. But if you needed it to stretch like over some boobs or something, you're going to want like a print design that has lots of space in it so the t-shirt can stretch with the material as well. But this is great. And I did also just want to show you, this is how I know. If you're not using the masking, it'll sometimes when you put your sheet on, it'll curl. So this was a set of lips, and see, I accidentally pressed here and here when the design got curled up on. So double check before you press if you're not using your masking. The other thing is you can press again with some parchment paper on it. And what that parchment paper does is it takes away the shine. So see how shiny this is? See how not shiny that is? So that is another trick if you want this to be less shiny. You can press it again for like 5 seconds with some parchment paper on top, and it'll take that shine away. All right, so the big question with a lot of this is how does this compare, this is a Siser one, to another inkjet printable material? So what this is ink paper or Jet Pro. This is Jet Pro ink printable transfer paper, 8.5 by 11. The big thing with this, I think it's more like $38 now. This is an old pack, but it's $50 for 38, or at my local vinyl place, you can get it for $1 a sheet. So it's more than half price per sheet compared to the Siser material. This is the Jet Pro, and then this is Siser's material. This does have a heavier feel. Like when you feel it, it has a heavier feel. This is a lighter material. This has a heavier feel. The big difference, I think, would be if you washable. I obviously haven't washed this since I just made it, but Siser is saying 20 to 25 washings for your material before you notice fading. This legitimately, you're going to start noticing fading after probably 5 washes. So, my opinion, if you want like graduation t-shirts, like I'm going to put somebody's face on a shirt for like a specific event that maybe will get washed once or twice, I think this Jet Pro material is a great choice because it's cheaper and it looks pretty good. Here's another one I did in the Jet Pro. It will not hold up to washing. My guess is if it holds up like Siser says, this will be a better choice for longer term washability. So it says 20 to 25 washings. So if you wash it once a week, that's pretty much 4 to 5 months before you notice fading. So I think this would be really good for like a season. Like if you need, I was thinking like a sports shirt, if you need a specific sports team logo shirt for like soccer for the fall or marching band for the fall. This would be great, and it would run that season, or like a summer shirt for a kid. I think it would run that season and run its course and fade by the time you're ready to move on to something else. So I wanted to talk about a couple other options to put full color designs on a t-shirt. This down here is a Sublimation t-shirt. I'm hemming it for a wrestling match. It's great, but it's limited. So Sublimation's great. You can have a bigger design, but it has to go on an all-white polyester shirt. Polyester shirts are getting better, but they're hard to find, and they're not the most fun thing to wear. But this design is in this shirt. This design will last the lifetime of this shirt. So for durability, you can't really beat it. You also, if you don't have a bigger printer, you can find people online, Etsy, that will print much bigger designs for you. They even have 24-inch printers on the market now. So that is one of the good things. These two are both limited by size at 8.5 by 11 for this guy. The Jet Pro does have an 11 by 17. And when you're wanting to put a full design on a shirt, 8.5 by 11, especially if you have somebody who's larger, is really not that big. So that's one of the drawbacks of these printable materials. So, and that's one of the pluses of this. The polyester, the shirts are getting better, but they're still kind of annoying. They're difficult to find, but it's going to be on there forever and ever and amen. So one other way to put a design on a t-shirt, this is a direct to film transfer. My local vinyl shop has started to, they'll do custom prints along with just direct pickup prints. This was what this was. I made it for the 4th of July. And this is what they look like. So it's printed with a specialized printer, and it's white on the back, and then the film. So you just press it and it's on your t-shirt. The printers are really expensive. It's not something I would recommend a hobbyist buy by any means. They're fiddly. You have to print all the time or else you're dealing with troubleshooting. So I'd recommend buying the transfers, but the transfers are out there. They, like I said, my local vinyl shop is now doing them. You can find transfers printed for you on Etsy. And it's another alternative. This is a 100% black cotton shirt that it is put on, and it has a similar kind of feel to this. Like you can feel the design, but it's not like a really heavy design or like heavy vinyl, like a glitter vinyl. It's much lighter in feel than that. It's been washed multiple times. It's still stretchy. This is another one I did that's been through the washer like probably 5 or 6 times now. So it is another alternative, especially if you want something that's going to last potentially the lifetime of the shirt. That's what they say this works. So if you wanted like logo shirts for a company, this would probably be a better option long term than this would be. So the question at the end of the day is, which one do you like? Which one do you like? If you had to pick one, which one do you like? Ultimately, size of your design, what your shirt is made out of, what color, and how long do you want this to last depends on which option you pick. But the cool thing is nowadays you have lots of options. Alrighty, that was probably more information you ever needed to know about this, but I feel always bad not giving you all the information I possibly know, so occasionally we run a little bit long. But does this work? Yes. Is it really cool? Yes. Is it limited by size and really expensive? Yes. So knowing that, you can determine if it's the right for your project or if it's not. But it's another really cool option to have on the market. So I hope that was more information than you ever needed to know. And please like and subscribe for more videos. If you have any comments or questions down in the comments, leave them and I will do my best to answer them. Thank you so much for watching.